This is Hashtag History, episode 121. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah. Welcome to season 13 of Hashtag History, everyone.
Yay! It feels like it's been so long.
It's been longer than usual for us.
It has been.
We like being crazy, cuckoo, and taking like 2-week breaks between seasons.
That's very true.
But yeah, it's been a longer one this time.
I think this time we leaned into the holiday season, leaned into relax.
Yeah.
Relax. We leaned into relax.
Yes.
I mean, I was trying to say relaxation and it didn't all the way come out.
Right.
We leaned into it.
We definitely relax,
we leaned into the relax and took an extended break. But I am, as always, happy to be back.
Yeah. So per usual, I am taking over the first episode of the season and doing a Leah Takeover episode.
I love these.
Now, Rachel, I have a question for you.
Is it about Jon Snow's butt cheeks? Because I will talk about that for as long as you want.
Yeah. Rachel is going through Game of Thrones for the first time.
And I just saw the cheeks last night.
Yeah.
And
she hasn't stopped talking about it since she walked through my door.
I haven't stopped thinking about it, honestly.
Yeah.
You haven't stopped Googling it.
Yeah.
Haven't really. Like, teach me the workout routine to have perfectly
supple
round cheeks.
Yeah. Lovely.
Anyway, if that is not what the question is, I probably don't have an answer.
Well, I was going to ask, what is the absolute craziest trip or activity you've ever gone on?
I once did the moving carts on the Ferris wheel at California Adventure. Does that count? And I freaked out. You know what? Actually, honestly,
we've all had panic attacks on those things.
The first story that came to mind is the exact opposite of this, and this is going to describe me very well. That like. Where the reason you're asking me this, I'm assuming because we're going to be talking about crazy trips, crazy things. And this shows that I am not that person.
Okay.
The very first story that came to my mind, I went to the same summer camp every single year growing up.
Yes.
From like age 8 to 18. There's a zip line. From age 8 to 18, every single summer, I was like, I'm going to do it this year.
Didn't do the
and
zip
I never
line?
did the zip line.
Girl, okay.
I was...
You want to know my craziest stuff?
Okay.
I've spelunked into caves twice. I have gone ziplining. I have done ziplining in the redwoods.
That's cool.
Yeah, I have.
Which I would never do that.
Yeah.
But it's cool.
Yeah, I've done like night hikes in forests and stuff. So I'm not like crazy cuckoo, but like I've done some things.
But you've ziplined at summer camp.
I've
before.
lived.
You've lived. I have just been watching Game of Thrones and I'm living vicariously through those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my answer.
Okay. So never any mountaineering under your belt.
I've looked at mountains. As I'm driving on road trips. Yeah. No, definitely no dreams of mountaineering. And really, I don't think that would even remotely interest me other than scenic value.
Yeah, I agree. I love hiking and heck, I'll even go backpacking for a short stint of time. But if I'm required to bring ice picks or snowshoes or oxygen on my trip, I'm out.
Yeah, definitely on the requirement to bring your own oxygen. That's going to be a no for me.
Yeah. So shockingly, there is a small facet of people, however, that not only choose to climb mountains in their spare time, but who shell out their entire life savings, commit all of their free time, and risk their lives in order to do so.
Wow.
And none are as committed as the mountaineers who attempt to climb Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on our planet above sea level. Asterisk.
Okay. Yeah, in fine print.
Yes. So today's story will focus on a specific Mount Everest expedition that took place in 1996, where due to a blizzard during their descent of the mountain, 8 climbers died. This tragedy has led to multiple books, memoirs, and even movies about the experience. The majority of the information, in fact, for this episode today comes from the book Into Thin Air by Jon Krakauer, which is a first-hand account of this incident by the author himself.
He was there?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've read this book a really long time ago and I forgot that he was there. I forgot it was a first-hand account.
First person.
Yeah, I completely forgot that.
Yeah. So this book was a required reading for me for one of my recreation parks and tourism classes. Probably an outdoor recreation class. And
Not your ziplining class.
No. And shockingly, I was entranced by it and obsessed with the book, even though like mountaineering does not interest me.
It's a crazy story.
Yeah. So I just wanted to give a shout out on here first and foremost to that book and to John. We're on first name basis. And recommend it to any of our listeners who would enjoy a more detailed firsthand account of this tragic event in history.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, with that out of the way, I think we know what time it is.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah.
And this is #History,
the podcast for both history nerds and history haters alike,
where we dive into history's greatest stories of controversy, conspiracy, and corruption.
All right. So first and foremost, we want to thank this week's sponsor. Their Instagram account handle is travel_historic. When they submitted their cocktail sponsorship, they said, at the risk of losing my perfect 10, keep up the good work, ladies. Cheers. This one's on me because I'm pretty sure they've sponsored before.
Yeah. And it was a 10. I don't remember what drink it was, but yeah, we don't have a lot of 10s.
We don't, but I have a strong feeling that we could achieve it this week.
Okay.
I mean, just based on the looks,
yeah,
we might be able to maintain that 10 score for you.
Right.
Since this is the first episode of this season, and perhaps we have some new listeners that are finding us for the first time, I wanted to talk ever so briefly about what it means to sponsor a cocktail. We are so stinking lucky on this podcast to have had so much support from all of our wonderful listeners that have graciously sponsored every single cocktail we have had on this podcast since I think like July 2021.
Yeah.
I feel like that's about when we rolled out the program.
Yeah.
And that's just insane. Nearly 2 years of sponsored cocktails. And sponsoring a cocktail is super easy. You can either head to the link in our Instagram bio, or you can head to the Support Us tab on our website. Follow the link there to sponsor a cocktail, where you can then sponsor 1, 2, 3, a million or a million cocktails, and we'll give you a shout out in an upcoming episode.
Yeah.
So thank you so much again to this week's sponsor and to all of our amazing sponsors over the last nearly 2 years.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You go.
Oh,
you go, kids.
So you go, kids. We're so proud of you. Now on to the cocktail. Surprisingly, / also unsurprisingly,
yeah,
there are several cocktails inspired by Mount Everest.
Yeah.
Like if you type in Mount Everest cocktails,
there's
100 of them will show up.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, none of them really had the look that I wanted.
Okay.
Like they're Mount Everest inspired, but then they're like red or orange cocktails or
like blood, the blood of people who died on the mountain.
You're right. Maybe I should have leaned into the more morbid side of this. Maybe that's what it was. But when I personally think of Mount Everest, I think of cold and icy and chilly. And so I wanted this week's drink to be reflective of that.
Right.
So that's why this week we're trying out the Jack Frost cocktail. So it has nothing at all to do with Mount Everest.
Okay.
I just wanted it to look like what I think
That's
Mount
all
Everest
we
looks
need.
like.
Yeah.
Okay.
I, now knowing that, love it.
Okay, you love it even more.
The look
it's supposed
of
to
it,
look
yeah.
like Mount
Yes,
Everest, kind of.
I
Okay.
get it
Oh, I'm
now.
so glad. Yeah, because really, this is like a Christmas cocktail.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with Mount Everest. I think I typed in like icy, frosty cocktails, and this was one of the first ones to come up.
Yeah.
So this recipe, it's off of theblondecook.com is where I got it. And the recipe, the original one on the website, makes 6 cups of this cocktail. So if you're going to have this cocktail, I say either one of two things. Have a party.
Right.
Have a Game of Thrones watch party.
Watch
number
some
one.
buns.
Watch
on
those
Jon
buns of
Snow.
steel. Or just have like an all-day Saturday to yourself. You know what I mean? Like,
Both sound
all day-
fantastic.
Both sound amazing,
Yeah.
but both will require hours of time.
Right.
Don't do it all at once.
Right.
Don't do it all at once, kids. So anyway, I'm just going to kind of tell you what's in the cocktail, the ingredients, as opposed to giving measurements because they're all over the place. 'Cause we didn't make 6 cups worth today.
Right.
All right. So you'll want lots of ice because it's very not frothy. Blended. Yeah, very blended, very icy. There's pineapple juice, blue curacao, vodka, cream of coconut, and then you rim the glass with, you put honey on it and then stick like flaked coconuts to it. Oh, so you rim the glasses first and then you blend everything else together in a blender so it gets really icy and pour it into the glasses.
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. I cannot even wait.
Okay.
Cheers. Our glasses made no clink
The coconut
noise
just squished against each other.
The coconut dampened it. What do you think?
It's really good. Not a 10 for me.
Really?
Here's the one thing that's missing.
I'm ready.
I feel like, and this might be me not getting the measurements quite right because we like eighth the recipe. Mine needs more citrus.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
That might be a me problem though.
I'm loving mine. I'm going to put mine at a 9.
Mine's a 9.
Okay. So
It's
we're
not a 10. Not a perfect 10.
We're sorry to this week's cocktail sponsor. Maybe you just need to keep sponsoring cocktails so we can get it right, you know? But I mean, it's close. A 9. And the look of it is beautiful. I love the look of
coconut
it.
flakes. Oh my God.
Yeah, this is one where we brought straws in, but I will definitely be sipping along the rim of the glass as well so I can get that honey and coconut.
All right.
All right. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Good start to
Good
the season.
start. I feel like
We say that every time.
No, I feel like when we have a really high rated one at the beginning, then it's all relatively good to follow the rest of the season.
Knowing the other episodes that we're recording today,
I know.
I'm going to bite your tongue on that one. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's jump into Mount Everest, a topic of which I know nothing about.
Fantastic. Hopefully
go.
I educate you.
Anything will be an education.
And like I said, I read this book like when I was in college, which I'm not going to say how long
Which
ago
was
that
only
was.
like a year or two
Yeah, it
ago,
was really
so.
recently.
Yeah.
So, no, but I didn't remember a lot of it. I had to skim back through the book a lot. Like I did a lot of skimming and then like obviously do some additional research.
Cool.
Because I didn't remember anything.
Yeah.
So before I dig in, I want to give a bit of background on Mount Everest, its commercialization, and its climbing history.
Perfect.
As I mentioned, Mount Everest is the tallest mountain on our planet above sea level, reaching a height of 8,846.86 meters.
Wow.
Which is roughly 29,031.7 feet in snow height. So that means the top of the mountain, it does vary slightly in height because the snowpack makes it change. So I think this measurement was like in 2016 or something like that. It rests along the border of modern day Tibet and Nepal in the Himalayas. And it was first, quote unquote, discovered by Westerners in 1861 after India's surveyor general calculated the height of Everest using some fancy trigonometry and realized that it was the tallest mountain in the world.
Wow.
Prior to this date, Everest was often referred to in Chinese texts in various languages and dialects, all of which roughly translated to Holy Mother or Holy Mother Peak. But after 1861, when it was, its height was discovered, which was actually very close to accurate, by the way, when they measured it, just using maths,
yeah.
It was named Mount Everest after the surveyor general who discovered its height, Sir George Everest.
Wow.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't know how it got
Mount
its name
Everest
either.
is one of those things where it's just part of just part of, you grew up, it's Mount Everest.
Yeah.
And I didn't think about it was named after someone.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
Wow.
Along with its new name came an influx of people interested in climbing the tallest mountain on our planet.
Wow. There's always got to be someone.
Those kookies. The first recorded efforts to reach Mount Everest summit were made by British mountaineers in 1921. All attempts to summit the mountain were unsuccessful all the way up until 1953, when Tenzing Norgay, a Sherpa from Nepal, and Edmund Hillary, a New Zealander mountaineer, made the first documented ascent of Everest using the Southeast Ridge Route.
Okay.
So there are two main climbing routes. One approaching the summit from the northeast in Nepal, known as the Standard Route, and then the other from the north in Tibet.
Do you know why one's considered the standard and one's not?
I think the Nepalese route is a little easy. I say easier.
I know.
A little less complicated.
Okay.
And kind of like straight climbing.
Okay.
Whereas the Tibet route isn't like that. And
Okay.
also I think Nepal is much more open to folks climbing.
That's
why
I was asking.
Is.
I figured maybe Nepal is the more standard takeoff point.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So by 1987, only about 200 people had summited the mountain, and most attempts were made by only professional mountaineers and also some large national expeditions. And then came the 1990s and the commercialization of Mount Everest.
I didn't realize it was so recent, which again, I mean, we're showing our age here. I'm showing my age here. 1990 was just like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But, well, I mean, in my mind, it's like 15 years ago. Kind of like you said, Mount Everest, you just grow up hearing about it, knowing about it. And so I thought it was always...
Yeah, and people were clearly climbing, prior to that, but that's when it like really took off and like it started getting expensive.
Okay.
So by the 90s, several companies were offering guided tours of the mountain for a hefty price tag due to the obvious risks, travel costs, Sherpa payments, and permitting costs.
And sorry to cut in again, but I
Sherpas?
assume... No.
Oh, I was
no,
gonna. I
I'm
was
good
wondering,
on that, but go ahead if you want to say more about that.
Sherpas are like they're locals who live in those high altitudes, and they are often hired to help like carry extra stuff and help these guides and these people climb the mountain.
Okay. No, my question was going to be, even I'm assuming for these guided tours, you still have to be like an experienced mountaineer, right? Like, no?
We'll get into that.
Because I'm like, could I do one of these guided tours? Do I have to go through like a health exam?
We will be getting into the requirements to climb very shortly.
Okay, great.
And that also kind of plays a role into the story as well.
Okay.
In 1991, the Chinese Ministry of Tourism charged $2,300 US for a permit that allowed a team of any size to attempt Everest.
In 91.
In 1991. Oh, get ready. In 1992, the fee was increased to $10,000 for a team of up to 9 climbers, with a fee of $1,200 to be paid for every additional climber.
Oof, okay.
In spring of 93, so we're talking 2 years after that $2,300 cost. The ministry raised the permit fee yet again to a staggering $50,000 for as many as 5 climbers.
What?
Plus $10,000 for each additional climber, up to a max of 7. And by 1996, when our story takes place, the permit fee was raised to $70,000 for up to 7 climbers, plus $10,000 for each additional climber. So it's not cheap.
I have like 2 things to say. One, that I'm shocked at how quickly that, I'm obviously the commercialism really attributed to this, I assume, how the popularity of it.
Yes.
Because can you imagine, like, 1 year you're able to go for $1,000 and the next year you're able to go for $10,000. Even Disneyland doesn't do that to us.
Yes.
Like,
come on. They slowly raise their prices so that we hardly even notice it.
And we still do it anyway. But it's like, even Disney is like, a 1 day, 1 park pass used to be $100. Now it's $150, but it took 5 or so years for that to happen.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's my first thing. And the second thing I was going to say is, as minimal information as I know about Mount Everest, one of the few things I know is just like, it is a financial
commitment.
Yes. And that's one of the biggest mind-blowing things to me, is like, even if you're super athletic and very skilled in this, like, there is still such a huge financial burden of climbing this mountain.
And it's not just Mount Everest. I think it's the 7 summits, which are like K2, Everest, like all the really tall summits of the world.
Yeah.
You're pocketing or not You're not pocketing. You're shoving out like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, because on top of paying the fees to climb, it's the travel expenses, it's the equipment, it's dedicating so much of your time to it.
Yeah.
This expedition, you'll see it's like weeks and weeks. It's not like, oh, they just climbed it in a couple days. It's like they're there for, I think it's like probably over months.
I might end up going down a rabbit hole after this episode of just like, how is that feasible?
I know.
For certain people, because then it's more than, hey, work, I need the next 4 weeks off because I'm climbing Mount Everest.
Yeah.
I also need the 16 weeks prior to that to train for climbing Mount Everest. So I don't know. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole after this.
I know. So permitting fees were climbing a bit, just a little bit, to say the least.
Yeah.
It makes sense with the really huge growing interest in the Everest experience. It was becoming a hot commodity, so price skyrocketed. Simultaneously, the death toll was climbing. By 1996, 130 climbers had died while attempting to summit. That is an approximate 1 death in every 4 climbers.
Oh my God.
So you have a 25% chance of dying.
So if you go on one of these group tours with, I mean, how many ever people are in there, like 10 people or something, at least 2 or so of you are not going to make it back.
I mean, yeah, statistically.
Wow.
And because climbing the mountain is so rigorous, retrieving those bodies is essentially impossible.
Oh, yeah.
So the frozen remains can be seen by climbers all along the two routes, almost like super morbid trail markers. So I have one picture here that I just want you...
So I have a morbid picture
So
to
I have
show
a
you.
morbid picture
Okay.
for you to describe if you want.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was expecting, but it is quite literally just a dead body
Yes.
on the mountain.
And this one particular trail marker, it's called Green Boots. It's given to this unidentified body of a climber that became a landmark on the main northeast ridge route of Mount Everest. The body has not been officially identified, but they believe it is someone named Tsewang Paljor, an Indian climber who died on Everest in 1996. So all expeditions from the north side encounter this body at roughly 28,000 feet until it was actually moved in 2014 by members of a Chinese expedition. They moved it a little further off the main route to kind of give it respect.
A little respect.
Yeah. And what's crazy is there's no decomposition. They're just they're frozen solid.
Obviously,
because it's so cold there.
I think that's why that. Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't put two and two together. It is a full. It's like he's taking a nap.
Yeah, it just looks like someone's taking a nap, sleeping.
I can't wrap my mind around how morbid that is. That a body that has been there for decades is a marker,
a trail marker,
a trail marker. Thank you. Yeah. That's the gears in my brain are moving very slowly trying to process that information.
Yeah. And you can see next to him too, if you guys do want to take a look at the picture, he has some oxygen bottles next to him and he's just laid down.
Yeah. He looks like he's taking an uncomfortable nap.
Yeah. Because of all of these reasons, growing interest, growing death toll, stricter rules and regulations on climbing the mountain were also being set.
Okay.
Today, these rules include requiring one of those Sherpas or a guide on the expeditions. No solo climbs are allowed.
Good.
Having previously summited 7,000 meters,
okay,
you have to also be under 75 years old. They also ban individuals with various physical disabilities, and they require a full medical background report by each and every single climber before you get a permit.
I wondered what sorts of things would disqualify you on a. I think there's some obvious things.
Yeah.
On maybe if you have asthma or something like that.
Exactly.
But I just wonder if it's you have low iron, or you had a sprained ankle 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I just wonder how rigorous those
background checks
are.
I didn't look too much into it, but I would definitely assume at the very least they're looking for lung or heart issues. I would assume they're looking for cognitive, making sure you're all there mentally, because it's not just physically exhausting, it's a mental and emotional toll.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyways, I hope that all these facts somewhat set the stage for our story.
I'm so appreciative that you did that, because I really didn't know that much, other than it's a big mountain and it's very expensive and very dangerous to climb it.
Yeah,
so
and
that helped a lot.
I did go down multiple rabbit holes. This stuff is so intriguing to me. Why people would want to do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very interesting topic for sure.
Yeah.
And just like any other story, this one has a cast of characters.
All right.
I'm going to give a very brief overview of the key players in this incident, but before I do, I just want to throw in a clarification that these were real human beings. I know I joked just 2 seconds ago saying the cast of characters, but they're not fictional characters. They have complex and intricate personal stories. So while my overview will definitely be brief and most certainly has some comical aspects to it, I highly encourage anyone who is interested to really do these folks justice and take some time to read about them. Many of them have really fascinating backstories and deserve some acknowledgement, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. Anyone that has committed their
life,
lives to doing something like this, I'm confident is a very fascinating person.
For sure. So there were 2 main tour groups that were climbing Mount Everest in May of 1996 when this incident happened. The first was the Adventure Consultant group, which included 3 guides: Rob Hall, who was 35, Mike Groom, 37, and Andy Harris, 31. They also had 8 clients with them. Frank, and please forgive me, I'm probably going to say some names wrong, but I'm trying. Frank Fischek, 53, who had attempted Everest 3 times prior but never summited.
Okay.
Doug Hansen, 46, who had one previous Everest attempt under his belt as well. Stuart Hutchison, 34, summited K2 in 1988, and he summited Everest through the North Side route in 1994, so 2 years prior to this.
Okay.
There's Lou Kosicki, 53. He had already climbed 6 of the 7 summits, so Mount Everest was going to kind of be like his last feather in his cap.
Oh, wow.
John Krakauer, 42, author of Into Thin Air, journalist for Outside Magazine, and he had no experience with 8,000-meter mountaineering.
Was he on this trip for the journalistic piece?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So he, if you read Into Thin Air, he, like, the first, 3 chapters are kind of dedicated to his backstory. He's a journalist, and his magazine, Outside Magazine, sponsored his trip to climb Everest. So he was supposed to write about it. He was first supposed to go with one tour group and then ended up in this one, the Adventure Consultant Group, because they gave them a price cut because they wanted to be published in the Outside Magazine. Okay. So yeah, no 8,000 meter experience, which is not great.
No.
He had definitely done climbing and mountaineering before, but just not at this great a distance.
Yeah.
Yasuka Namba, 47, had climbed also 6 of the 7 summits and became the oldest woman ever to summit Everest on this trip, despite not surviving the climb down. And then John Taskey, 56, also had no 8,000 meter experience, and Becky Weather, 49, no 8,000 meter experience.
Okay.
And I say that just because it does play a role in what happened. Their lack of experience kind of caused some of the issues.
Okay.
This team also had 8 Sherpas with them.
Wow.
And a lot of
big group.
Yeah. And a lot of the Sherpas, we don't necessarily know their last names. They kind of just go by first names. And I'm going to try so hard to get their names right, but please bear with me and forgive me if I don't. There was Sadar Ang Dorji, Arita, Chuldam, Kami, Lakpa Shiri, Nguyen Norbu, Tenzing, and Lopsang. It should be noted that with the exception of Namba, none of the clients on Hall's team, on this team, had ever reached the summit of an 8,000 meter peak, and only Fishbeck, Hansen, and Hutchison had previous high altitude Himalayan experience.
Okay. I think all of this, it sounds like niche experience, but very relative niche experience.
Absolutely. I think you need that niche experience in order to do this.
Definitely. I'm trying to equate it to another sport, but I don't know. I can't really think of another good example, but it's you can be...
You're not going to go down an Olympic size half pipe snowboard.
Yeah.
Snowboarding half pipe if you've never gone down the bunny hill before.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of them have done more than gone down the bunny hill.
Yes.
But still.
I think part of what you just said, the last thing you just said, is also important, that environment matters a lot too. Just because you've scaled mountains doesn't mean you've done it in this particular altitude.
Totally.
That makes a huge difference. I know this is a very small feat in comparison an embarrassingly small feat in comparison to other people. But when we were in Switzerland, we did take we went up the Swiss Alps, which that was not mountaineering. That was riding a gondola up there and then climbing a lot of steps. My point in saying all this is climbing those steps was really difficult because the air up there is so thin.
Yes.
That getting a good deep breath was difficult. So even though it's just climbing some stairs that are man-made and they have handrails and stuff that I was able to use and take breaks, it still was not an easy feat getting all the way up there.
And that's a really good point. And just to put it kind of into perspective for folks that are somewhat local to California, Lake Tahoe, which is kind of up in our, highest areas of our mountains, is only at 6,224 feet. And we're talking 28,000 feet.
That puts it into a lot of perspective because I've been to Tahoe a million times.
Yeah.
Wow.
Krakauer was originally slated to climb with the competing Mountain Madness team, but Hall, the leader of the Adventure Consultants groups, like I said, reduced Outside Magazine's fee for Krakauer's spot on his expedition as a trade for some advertisement and a story about the expedition. In short, he wanted accolades, but he's not alone in that. We get it, right?
Yeah,
you
judgment.
You want your tour group to get that advertisement.
Zero judgment.
The other group that we'll be focusing on was the Mountain Madness tour group, which included 3 guides as well. Scott Fisher, who was 40, Neil Beetleman, and Anatoly Bukreev, who was 38. Mm-hmm. There were 8 clients in this group as well. Martin Adams, 47, who had climbed 3 of the 7 summits. Charlotte Fox, 38, who had 8,000 meter experience, and that's pretty much all I know about her. Mm-hmm. Lene Gamelgard, who was 35. Dale Cruz, who was 45. Tim Madsen, 33, with no 8,000 meter experience. Sandy Hill Pittman, 41, who had summited 6 of the 7 summits. Whew, say that 12 times fast. Jeez. Pete Schoenig, 68, who was kind of like a legend in the climbing world. He was like famous in his own right for his expeditions and climbing. And then Cleve Schoening, who was 38 and also had no 8,000 meter experience. This group also had 8 Sherpas: Sardar Lopsing, Jangbu, Big Pemba, Nawang Dorji, Ngawang, Sia Kia, Nguyen Tendi, Nguyen Topchi, Tashi Sharing, and Tendi. In addition to these 2 groups, there was also a Taiwanese group and an Indo-Tibetan group using the Nepal North Route at the same time.
Okay.
Now, before I dig into the actual incident, I have one final thing for us to look at because I'm going to be throwing out a lot of camp names out there, and I just want us to take a look at the route map. And Rachel, if you can, describe it as best you can.
Okay.
I encourage anyone listening to also look it up. On our Instagram, we'll be posting the same map.
So in looking at the map, which I've very well expressed my naivete in this this industry, so I'm not going to use proper terminology, I'm sure. But yeah, it's just, there's like a trail that goes all the way up the mountain, and I see multiple campsites. There's a C1, C2, C3, C4, which I assume stands for campsite or campground.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you climb the mountain.
Yeah.
There's a handful of them.
Yeah, exactly. And I know this map, there's actually not a ton of like maps of the routes. This one is like, it makes it look small.
Yeah, it does.
But it's not. We're talking like miles and miles of distance. And I mean, you can see the elevation changes as you go. So it's just try to put this into perspective that this is like, what is it? 4 to 5 Lake Tahoe, heights.
That's insane.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed too is the difference between like where these camps are. Like those first 2, looking at the elevation, are, I mean, when I say the word close together, I don't mean they're close together. They're still very far apart. But like the difference between those 2 versus like campsite 3 and campsite 4, it feels like you just have to scale so much more to get from one to the other. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely,
it's like,
yeah.
Between 1 and 2, I got this. I can do this. Between like 2 and 3 and 4, like, I'm not going to make it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, hello there. Do you wish your high school history course had more drinking, more swearing, and more ladies?
Well, do we have the show for you? Her Story on the Rocks is a long-form podcast talking about good women, bad women, fictional women, and non-fictional women from all times and places.
Basically, each week we pair 2 women who we research with a themed signature cocktail.
You won't be sorry you listened to our latest episode.
Available everywhere you listen to podcasts.
Cheers!
So even before climbing the mountain, many people get high altitude sickness when they arrive in Nepal or Tibet if they're going that route. Due to the huge increase in altitude, symptoms of high altitude sickness can include headaches, vomiting, tiredness, confusion, trouble sleeping, and dizziness. So climbing parties are often delayed as folks acclimate to the elevation. While at the base camp of Mount Everest, which in itself is already 5,380 meters or 17,650 feet above sea level.
Base camp.
Yeah, that's the base camp.
I wouldn't even make it to the base.
I know.
Like,
no, I know. And that's the thing. A lot of people don't, especially the people that go in with like very limited climbing experience.
Don't even make
it
to
to
the base.
They make it to base camp and they get sick.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the effects of high altitude at base camp are significant on these groups. Krakauer describes short walks to the mess hall as, quote, leaving him wheezing. Sleeping and eating were difficult. Cuts and scratches didn't heal, and everyone began to lose weight.
Yeah.
Other members of the team had gastrointestinal problems, severe headaches, and during this period, both groups often go on short climbs to and from base camp. This was like common procedure where they would like go to camp 1 and then come back to base camp, go to camp 2, come back to base camp. It was like common to get yourself acclimated to the high elevations and get you used to climbing Everest. So it's not just like a one and done. You're going up to to the first camp and then back to base camp. Then you go up to 3 and back to base camp. It's like you're just climbing constantly.
I would say I've climbed Mount Everest. If I did like 2 camp 1 3 times, that's essentially
and that's
the same
what
thing.
a lot of the people on these groups had climbed Mount Everest before. They just hadn't summited it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of mind-blowing. I didn't...
I know,
and maybe
I forgot
other people
about that aspect.
don't think that too, that like they're climbing up and down parts of this mountain several times before they climb
for weeks.
the mountain.
Yeah. And so they're like going and they're staying overnight at some camps and then coming back down to base camp. So all of this takes some time. It takes like weeks for them, right?
Sure.
During this process, one of the Sherpas from the Mountain Madness team, Nguyen, developed HAPE, HAPE, which is a horrible, horrible form of high altitude sickness where pulmonary edema occurs due to high altitude and liquid starts accumulating in the lungs.
I'm sorry, I keep butting in, but it's like, this is just mind blowing to me. And a Sherpa
who lives there.
So that shows that like these conditions are not normal habitats for human beings.
No. And
just like, someone that lives there that's probably done this a bunch of times. It's just this, I mean, it's a very dangerous and nearly impossible thing to do.
Yeah. And that brings me to another point that I didn't actually put in my notes, but the Sherpas, including this guy that got Nguyen, that got sick, like refused to admit it was high altitude sickness because it's like embarrassing.
Shameful.
It's shameful. And, he does eventually succumb to his illness and dies in the hospital.
Oh my God.
But okay, it's hard to explain. The group of like Nepalese that these Sherpas often come from are very spiritual, and they were like, he didn't just get high altitude sickness. No, he was cursed, or like this group is cursed. Something's going on. I think they even blamed like one of the tour group people were like kind of messing around with another person, not married, and they were like, "Oh, the mountain's mad. The mountain's mad. So this is what. So we're being punished for your actions."
Wow.
All very interesting. Like I said, he was hospitalized and he does eventually die. Pete Schoening also decided not to make the final push to the summit while acclimatizing during this whole process, likely due to high altitude sickness symptoms himself. And he was one of the ones that like was super had experience under his belt.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I just think that is like really important to emphasize because it's just a brutal journey that even those that have experience can still succumb to natural illnesses and injuries trying to do a nearly impossible feat.
Yeah. So other injuries and illnesses occur, including frostbite on the entire adventure consultant group, but this was all, quote, normal for Everest attempts. So neither of the tour group leads were too concerned about pushing forward. Someone died and they're like, no, we'll still go.
Yeah, you frostbiting, you only lost one pinky. We're fine.
Yeah. And I say it's all, quote, normal because it is for these groups, but there is some criticism about both of the tour leads and the decisions they make on this whole thing. May 6th, 1996, both teams decide to make their final push from base camp and attempt summiting the mountain. It should be noted that they are already exhausted at this point by all the treks they've been doing up and down the mountain. During this time, the Mountain Madness team client, Cruz, suffered from altitude sickness and possible high-altitude cerebral edema, HACE, H-A-C-E, which is also a really bad form of high altitude sickness where the brain starts swelling due to high altitudes. So Fisher, the tour lead of Mountain Madness, escorts Cruz back to base camp for treatment, and the team continues on. Wow. And that's the other thing is a lot of the Sherpas and the tour guides are going like up and down, right? They're helping people. So they have a lot more experience. So they're going faster. They're bringing oxygen to people. The Sherpas are carrying a lot of like gear and stuff. So that's an interesting point there. The Adventure Consultants group also happened to see a Swedish climber when they're making this first climb up to Camp 1. So they see a Swedish climber, Goran Kropp, and he is descending the mountain. And they discover he had climbed all the way to the south summit and was a mere couple of 100 feet from the top before electing to turn around due to exhaustion. And something Krakauer points out in his book at this point, he's like, that alone takes a lot of like mental maturity and acceptance because like, think about, you've spent tens of thousands of dollars to get here. You're a few hundred feet from the top.
And knowing you can't do it.
But that's why a lot of people die and get hurt, is they're pushing themselves so much because it costs so much money and they've dedicated so much to do it, and they push themselves too far.
Wow.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of emotional maturity.
For sure. On May 8th, both groups leave Camp 2 and fight to make it to Camp 3, but even the most advanced and experienced climbers amongst them, like Frank Fischek, were struggling. That night, they begin using supplemental oxygen, which in and of itself is a big debate in the mountaineering community.
As like a performance enhancer kind of thing?
Well, it's like some people say if you need oxygen, then you shouldn't be doing this. Yeah, I don't know.
It's also unnatural what you're doing.
Everything about this is unnatural.
So maybe you need some supplemental assistance.
Yeah. Another reason why it's kind of debated is people just leave their oxygen cans. It's like littered along the mountain.
Yeah.
It should be noted that the mountain and the route they were taking was quite, quote, crowded at this time. As I mentioned, in addition to the two tour groups we're focusing on, there was a Taiwanese group, an Indo-Tibetan group, and then there were also other groups climbing down from their summit attempts.
Well, even just hearing how many people are in these groups kind of surprised me.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people.
While at Camp 3, one person from the Taiwanese group is disoriented and like in the middle of the night leaves their tent, and they're not like wearing a lot of clothing or not any gear. And then they actually fall into a crevasse and are severely injured, but they do survive. However, while being escorted back down the mountain, they end up dying, but this doesn't deter the groups from continuing on to Camp 4.
No.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
I know it's insane, Rachel.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
Multiple people have died.
Yes.
Multiples.
Yes. They all begin ascending the single rope climb to Camp 4 on May 9th and arrive that evening greeted by thousands of empty oxygen canisters and the beginning of a storm. So I have a picture here just because I know we mentioned the canisters just a second ago, but just to give you an idea.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can see why there would be
debate
this. And controversy in the industry about it, because that's horrible. That's like when you go to a beach and people leave their water bottles everywhere.
Yeah,
that's really horrible. So here comes my naivete again.
Yes,
I know that weather is unpredictable. We know that. There were no predictions that, because you said there's a beginning of a storm early on in the episode. You said there's going to be a blizzard. Okay. You're kind of giving me a look like I'm going to get to it.
Yeah. Well, I don't dig into it too much, but that's one of the criticisms of the tour guides is like some people say like they knew that there was a storm was coming. They might not have known the severity of it, but like it was known there is a storm approaching.
Okay.
While at Camp 4, many people became disoriented and began suffering from altitude sickness, leaving only 33 climbers to continue the final stretch of the climb the following day, leaving Camp 4 and entering what is known as the death zone.
God. This whole thing is the death zone. This is the deathier of the death zones.
The deathiest of the death zones.
Oh my God.
This is a lot. There's a lot of pictures for this one, so I apologize in advance. But this is the last leg to get to the top. This first picture we'll share on Instagram.
It's crowded.
And I don't know if this is from this specific group. I doubt it is because there's blue skies and stuff. But like it is a tiny, very narrow, a very narrow path up the side of a mountain, and there's like you can see there's like a line of maybe 50 plus people going up it.
I don't know how they manage this stuff. Are there people going up and down at the same time?
Yes.
Oh my God.
And then I have one more picture, and I think this is the last picture, but it's just beautiful. Another example. Yeah.
But yeah, it's not easy. Like it looks very narrow and complicated.
Yes.
And difficult.
Yes. Shortly after midnight on May 10th, 1996, the Adventure Consultants Group begins their summit attempt from Camp 4, joined by 6 climbers, 3 guides, and Sherpas from the Mountain Madness Company, as well as expedition sponsors by the government of Taiwan. More people start struggling and getting sick during this final leg. Even one of the Sherpas who, like I said, Sherpas are known for their stamina and ability to withstand high altitudes, often without oxygen.
Wow.
One of them was actually seen vomiting at this point in time. Yeah. People are clearly struggling with their mental capacities as well. The lack of oxygen is affecting their thinking. And the summit attempt quickly encounters delays when the climbing Sherpas of these groups failed to affix the ropes that are usually used in this leg of the climb at 8,350 meters, causing a huge slowdown. And they usually have to go up and affix some like lines that people can hold on to and make sure it makes it easier for climbing.
Got it. Okay.
And kind of also designate the route. It makes it so you can see where you're supposed to go.
Okay.
By the time the climbers reach what is called the Hillary Step, which is at 8,760 meters, they discover once again that no fixed lines had been placed and are forced to sit and wait while the guides of the groups install the ropes. Wow. So I think the Sherpas are like, it's he said, she said, it's like all kind of just secondhand accounts, you know. But some people say the Sherpas were mad because like the other group was supposed to do it. And so they didn't want to do it. And then also they're struggling themselves.
Yeah.
Like it's not, nobody's having a great time right now.
Yeah.
So once the tour guides get the line up and ready, a huge backlog of climbers are waiting to climb this next strip. And it slows things down even more. So there's a backlog. Everyone is basically at this one spot all at once.
Oh my God, this is stressing me out.
I know. Many folks actually right here and then return back to Camp 4 as they're worried about running out of oxygen.
Yeah.
Or having to turn around by the set cutoff time of 1400 hours or 2 p.m., which was essentially the last time one could safely leave the summit and make it back to Camp 4 before nightfall.
Okay. I just got even more anxious. Oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah. But it should be noted that some members of the group don't reach the summit until well after 3:45 p.m.,
Nearly
almost 2 hours after the turnaround time.
Oh my God.
I know I imagine you'd feel absolutely elated to make it to the summit of Mount Everest, especially after so much money and effort and struggle. But Krakauer actually describes making the summit as a bit of a letdown.
Really?
Yeah, it's the same view you've been looking at for 4 days, you know, just a little higher. You're beyond exhausted and you're in a time crunch to turn around and make it back to the camp below as safely as possible. It's crowded. You're miserable. You don't want to die. You get the idea.
I would love to read stats of the people that have made it.
Yeah.
Like, what was the feeling? Did it feel good, or was it like, all right, cool, now let's turn around?
Well, I think especially in this situation,
Yeah.
it's like they're rushed. Everything, like things aren't going well. I'm pretty sure Krakauer said like he literally got up there, spent about a minute looking around, and then turned around.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I can say like personally, I've had experiences like that where the
Oh,
road
yeah,
trip took too
totally.
long. So then by the time you get there, you're like,
We've all
whatever.
experienced that. Yeah.
Wow.
Around 3 p.m., the weather begins to turn even more as the group makes their descent. On the way down, they encounter Doug Hansen in the death zone above the Hillary Step, and he had never made it to the summit and seemed disoriented. Hall from Adventure Consultants stays with Hansen while the others continue to descend, many beginning to suffer from high altitude sickness, some even suffering from HAPE and HACE. Rachel's literally stressed.
I'm so stressed right now. My palms are getting sweaty. Yeah, I'm getting sweaty. That's not an exaggeration. I'm feeling very warm right now. This is crazy.
Do you need the fan on? I have multiple.
No, I need this episode to be over.
Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there.
This is so stressful.
Yeah. The worsening weather begins to cause further difficulties as the team descends and eventually becomes a full-blown blizzard on the south face of Everest. It reduces visibility, it damages and obscures trail and fixed ropes, and people start getting left behind as they struggle.
I imagine that's one of the like number one rules of this is
Don't
I don't
leave
know.
folks
Nobody
behind.
gets left behind.
I don't know.
You don't think
I
so?
don't, because I mean,
Isn't that the point of going in groups?
yes, that's the point of going in groups, but also I'm sure if it gets to a certain point, it's like, save yourself. We
Yeah,
need to get as
that's true.
many people out of here as possible. If that means you go, then you go.
Got it. Sense. I mean, it's like on an airplane. They'd say put your mask on before you put the person next to you.
Several climbers got lost on the South Col during the storm, and the Mountain Madness guide Beetleman and clients Cleve Schoening, Fox, Madsen, Pittman, and Gamelgard, along with adventure consultant guide Mike Groom and the clients Beck Weathers and Yasuka Namba, wander in the blizzard until they could no longer walk. then huddle in place as a group. By midnight, the weather does subside enough for a rescue attempt from guides at Camp 4, but Namba and Weathers from the adventure consultant groups were left behind. Some people say it was because they're part of the adventure consultants group, so they were just trying to help the Mountain Madness team because that was their team. It might have just been they weren't in good shape to climb down, so they said, we'll leave them there and try again.
Ooh, jeez.
They don't really know.
Okay.
At 4:43 a.m. on May 11th, Hall, who had stayed behind with Hansen above the Hillary Step, radios base camp announcing he survived the night, but Hansen had not.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine what that feels like to be beside someone else that doesn't survive.
Yeah. He indicates Harris, who had ascended to help them, had indeed reached him at some point, but was now MIA, and noted that his oxygen mask was frozen and unusable, and he was suffering from frostbite. Later that afternoon, he radios base camp again, this time asking for them to call his pregnant wife, Jan Arnold, via satellite phone. This part's really sad.
Oh, no. No. Like, what? No. I guess I'm having a little bit of a judgment here. Just like you tried to do this while your wife is home with your unborn child.
But he's one of the guides. This is what he
he's
does.
A guide. It's his job.
This is literally what he does.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So during this call, they chose a name for their unborn child.
No.
I'm sorry.
If they didn't name him Everest, I'm going to assume.
He assured her he was comfortable and told her, quote, "Sleep well, my sweetheart. Please don't worry too much," end quote. Shortly after the call, Hall froze to death in his sleep, and his body was later found on May 23rd, but was left where it was as requested by his wife, Jan. Hansen and Harris's bodies were never found.
All right, well, I'm not warm anymore. I have chills all over my whole body. That's
that
horrible.
part, when I was typing it, I started like getting weepy.
Yeah.
It was sad.
That's horrible. And I don't know. Obviously, I assume his wife knew that that's what he wanted, was to like leave him on the mountain.
And that's what she said, is like he would prefer to be there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's such a... When I say crazy decision, I don't mean crazy like I'm judging her. I'm like, that's just wild that that would be what someone would want.
I think she knew that was like his first love, you know? Meanwhile, an attempt to locate the missing Namba and Weathers was taking place. They were found alive, but they were hypoxic and frostbitten, and it was determined that the survivors located at Camp 4 had neither the strength or the resources to save them, so they were just left to die again. Shockingly, later that day, Weathers regained consciousness and descended alone to Camp 4, barely alive. He was given oxygen, but by May 12th, another storm had arrived and collapsed his tent while everyone was sleeping, pushing him into even more critical condition. Over the next 2 days, Weathers was ushered down to Camp 2 with the assistance of 8 climbers from various other expedition teams that were, a lot of them were like during their acclimation times from base camp. And he was eventually evacuated by helicopter. He's
Wait, helicopters are an option.
Well, no. So that's the thing, is it's very unusual and it's like risky for, I think it must be like winds and stuff make it very risky. So that's why they had to get him all the way down to Camp 2, because at least then there was like
lower elevation,
some option to go in and do it.
I see.
But even then, I remember reading like it was unusual and rare that would happen. But he was in such critical condition that they tried. Wow. He did survive, but he lost his nose, his right hand, and half of his right forearm, and all of the fingers on his left hand, all to frostbite.
I've never had frostbite before, but I'm going to assume you feel those things happening. You feel your nose like...
Well, it's painful. If you stick when you stick your hand in an ice bucket, it feels like it's painful.
Daggers going into your hands.
Yeah.
Frostbite is a gradual process, and you feel it as it's happening.
Yes. Wow. Fisher and Gao, a member of the Taiwanese expedition who had also been missing during this time period, were located by climbing Sherpas alive on May 11th, but in deteriorating condition. Gao, who was in slightly better shape, was escorted back far enough down the mountain for another rare helicopter rescue to evacuate him, while Fisher was given palliative care to make him more comfortable. One of his fellow Mountain Madness co-guides made another attempt to rescue him, but he was found frozen to death by 7 p.m.
Something else I just thought of too is not only, all these conditions, they're making it nearly impossible to stay alive. I'm going to assume these people didn't have granola bars in their backpacks to eat.
I mean, they do. Like, they pack food.
But for the extended journey. Yeah, I definitely assume you pack water and food and things like that. But for a 3-day trip versus a 12-day trip.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. In addition to the deaths and injuries I've outlined in detail, 3 of the Indo-Tibetan group also on the mountain at the time period died of exposure on May 10th and 11th, making the total death toll for this single time period, these few days in May, 8.
Oh.
There is a whole myriad of things that went wrong, causing so many to perish, including the inclement weather, though some, as I mentioned, do accuse both Hall and Fisher for ascending with their groups knowing the storms were predicted. Bottlenecks and crowds in certain legs of the route, the decision to extend the standard turnaround time of 2 p.m., and the fact that several clients ran out of oxygen, and most importantly, many of them were not very experienced. All of these factors contributed to the staggering numbers of those lost. As I stated earlier, a total of 12 people went missing or were found dead during the 1996 season as a whole, which sounds absolutely staggering to me, but it is only, to date, the 3rd deadliest season in Mount Everest history.
What?
Over 300 climbers have died on the mountain, with deaths occurring every single year since 1978, excluding 2020, which, due to COVID shutdowns, people weren't allowed to climb. Despite all of this, Everest is still a very popular climbing destination. As of July 2022, Everest has seen 11,346 successful ascents by nearly 7,000 individuals.
Oh, wow.
In 2022 alone, 690 individuals reached the summit.
Wow.
George Mallory, one of the first people to attempt climbing Everest in 1924, answered the question that's on my mind for sure. Why did you want to climb Everest? With a simple yet likely common answer. Because it's there.
Wow.
George Mallory's body was found on the mountain 75 years after he disappeared on it by an exploration team in 2007. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of #History.
We will share all of the pictures that we discussed in this episode to our Instagram. There were a bunch of them, and I personally found them very helpful to check out and follow along with during the episode. So be sure to do that. Those are on our Instagram, and then all sources used to put together this episode can be found on our website at #history-pod.com.
Check us out on social media. You can find us on Instagram at #history_podcast. Subscribe to us on whatever podcast platform you use, share about us with your family and friends, and then give us a rate and review.
And come join us over on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you can help support our books and booze supply, get access to some behind-the-scenes content, weekly #Hangout episodes, and automatic 15% off all merchandise, and we mail you cards and stickers. Thanks.
Bye.
And it got it. Okay. Oh, me.
Yes.
This is #History, episode 100. We're not at 11. 100.
Why did I put that?
Probably just a copy and paste over from the last one. Let me start again.
I know what's crazy, and I might have said this before. Did you ever watch that 70s show growing up? So
they have
that
70s show now.
Yeah, but that 70s show was more recent when they were recording it than the 90s is to us. Like the 70s was more recent than the 90s is to us.
I saw that and refused to believe that.
I know.
So thank you for continuing to spread false narratives on our podcast.
Okay. So I hope. Wait, hold on. No, I skipped a whole paragraph. I am a little rusty.
Well, just wait till I do mine.
Fast snoring.
Fascinating. I like that word. Yeah. I don't even know how that happened.
I'm about to say backstories.
Okay, because I'm like, where did Noreen come from? Oh.
Fishek. Fishek?
Yeah.
Frank Fishek. Say it different every time.
It doesn't matter.
At the beginning, would you ever go mountaineering?
No, and I still will not zip line. I still will not go on that Ferris wheel at California Adventure
that
again.
I get.
Okay,
I went on that one, and that was the most.
Would you prefer Everest to that?
No.
Oh. I thought you were going to be like, close second. Close second. Still no.
No, because, like, nobody dies on the Mickey Mouse wheel.
That you know of. That they tell you.
I mean, they might die of, like, heart attacks or pissing themselves. But nobody
But at least
dies.
you get a churro afterwards instead of your nose falling off.
Right.
Oh, I didn't laugh. Your nose falling off. I didn't mean to laugh. Oh, my God. All right.